Well, you can't imagine the United States presidential election is going to get any more bizarre. What a week we've had with garbage trucks and all sorts of things. Let's go to the US now. The candidates, Donald Trump, Kamala Harris, they're heading into the final weekend of the campaign. Polls will close Tuesday local time. Result will come down to the wire, with polls in swing states now still pretty narrow, too close to call. Today, both candidates had rallies, one in Nevada, where polling averages show Donald Trump has probably got a 4 percentage lead over Harris. Now, for more, I'd love to go to New York because it's been Halloween there. We find Sky News business editor Ross Greenwood. Ross, the city that never sleeps, I bet it knows how to turn on a Halloween party.
You've never seen anything like it. You and I, Steve, have been here for Christmas, New York City, and it does a great Christmas. In fact, I think it does the best Christmas anywhere in the world, but I can tell you it exceeds itself at Halloween. Every ghoul, every monster, everybody comes out. 2 million people go to the West Village Parade, which is just quite astonishing to even see all the floats and everything go through. But it's the people in the crowd that are even more bizarre and go to such enormous efforts to do it. But the really interesting thing is when you start to chat to these people, in 5 days' time, those people go to the polls. And it doesn't matter whether you're talking to young trans couples or whether you're talking to sort of ardent, rusted-on Republicans. The fact is that people are engaged in this election. So just a couple of stats for you. The last time the election was held, there was 158 million people who voted in America. 158 million, which represented more than 2/3 of the eligible people who could vote. Now, considering that voting here is voluntary, you don't have to do it, the fact of the matter is people are engaged. So the people we're talking to on the streets at Halloween, no matter where we go to, not only do they know Sky News in Australia, which is the big thing for us, but the second thing is they are politically savvy. They're literate about this election. They're following the news. They're following the events. And, of course, that's the reason why both candidates are literally shadowing each other, just looking for that gotcha moment to hit that final edge or advantage in this election campaign. Explain the inspiration for your outfit tonight.
Yeah, so usually since Halloween falls on a Thursday, we got Thursday, Friday, and Saturday to kind of, deal with. So first day right here, I'm Chef Linguini from Ratatouille, Disney Pixar. We got Remy on the side helping me out. We got the wooden spoon, and we're just going to have a great night tonight.
You both look fantastic for Halloween. You've gone to a lot of effort, haven't you?
Yes.
Halloween in New York, it's a big celebration. Why is it so big, do you think?
I think it's big because you get to dress up, do something eccentric, and New York, we love that.
In 5 days' time, there's the election. Are you going to be celebrating that day as well?
I don't know about that one.
You don't know about that one?
No.
Why is that? Why aren't you so certain about that one?
I'm not too happy with the candidates we have.
I love Halloween. One of my favorite holidays. Happy Halloween.
So, Steve, the other thing that really does sort of stand out to me, it's pretty cool, hey, right? You see those people out there doing their stuff? Yeah, I was going to say the other thing that really stands out.
Should they really be voting?
In this election campaign. Oh, well, that's the question. You can argue that, but they are of voting age. They're eligible, right? So that's the most important thing. Yeah. Can I tell you, from that election campaign, just while you're there, even around me, standing here on the rooftop, basically, there are nightclubs still going off after 3 o'clock in the morning. As you know, you'd call it the city that doesn't sleep. It doesn't. But the other thing that stands out to me really are the parallels between the United States and also New York City and Australia. And some of the electoral campaigns and issues that we have in Australia are quite similar to here in New York. That is, migration is an absolute key. The cost of housing is another one, and the management of the economy. These are really some of the key issues that come down to the reason why people will vote the way they will in this election. So what I did yesterday, our time, was to go to City Hall here in New York, and I went to the leader of the minority, the Republican, Joe Borelli, just to get his take on the election campaign. Have a listen.
We've had 220,000 people come through our system as migrants who have crossed the southern border and have arrived here. We have 65,000 still in our system. That means nearly 150,000 people are somewhere in New York City putting pressure on our existing housing supply. We had a housing crisis before, 2022, when this problem arose, and now it's only been exacerbated by the amount of people who are coming here that also qualify for certain programs. They just put pressure on our existing housing infrastructure.
Of course, the issue there, Steve, is people coming across the borders, in particular from the south, but they do gravitate to the bigger cities, as migrants always do when they come into new countries. And that's the reason why Sydney and Melbourne have got the issues in regards to housing. And of course, the same thing happens in the biggest city in the United States as well.
Yeah, and as we know, Ross, some of those Republican governors of the southern states, they got sick and tired of the numbers of people coming over the borders and, you know, just stopping in those towns. They were sticking them on aircraft and flying them up to places like New York and saying, well, if you Democrats, and New York's a very Democrat place, as we know, if you Democrats are so in love with people coming across the border, here's a few thousand for you to look after.
Oh, it's so true. And maybe that's also another little issue. So you're right about New York. It's been Democratic since the early 1980s. There's been no Republican candidate. So they're rusted on Democrats here. But the one interesting part about this is in the 2020 election, it was actually New York and some of the upstate New York sort of counties that allowed the Republicans to gain control of the Congress. And so those particular sort of counties are going to be vital again in the race to see who gets the Senate control and who also gets control of the Senate, because whoever becomes the president, Kamala Harris or Donald Trump, really would like to have an easy way to get their agenda and their legislation through the parliament, which is a little bit like, again, Australia, trying to have control of that Senate so you don't have to deal with those minority parties.
Well, of course, Trump Tower dominates part of the skyline there. I mean, there must be some people in New York that actually appreciate what Trump's done for New York. And he's probably got supporters who are probably not willing publicly, Ross, to put their hand up and say, I'm going to vote for him. But quietly and secretly, they go away and do just that.
Well, I think that's true too, and that's the reason why when you had Biden coming out and talking about garbage and really evoking, sort of going back to Hillary Clinton talking about deplorables and all that type of thing, it's actually that silent, you know, sort of minority that really do start to come out in force. Now, to be honest, here on the streets, though this is a Democrat town, though we're in the village where there are young people who are traditionally very, very strongly swinging to the Democratic Party, the reality is that it's not too hard to find Republicans here. It's not too hard to find people who jump in front of the camera and say, vote Trump. So, as I say, people are passionate on either side here. They're not afraid to pin their colours to the mast, as it were, to tell you the way they're going to vote. And, you know, it really is quite fascinating. We stood outside a pre-polling place today and just chatted to people as they were coming out. And again, there, the people really strongly committed to vote, really strongly committed to the issues that they found, you know, sort of deep to them. And so on all sides, didn't matter which people voted, the people are engaged here. It's not quite like Australia where you've got to vote. Here, you've actually got to get out and vote. But the fact of the matter is both candidates now wanting more and more people to vote because they think that will give them the edge in what is a tight election.
Great stuff, Ross. As you can see, it's 3 a.m. there. You go and catch one of those famous New York bars and we'll watch your coverage with great interest across the weekend. Good on you, Roscoe. Ross Greenwood there in New York.